Buongiorno a tutti voi, difensori della dignità umana. Sono Nicole e vi do il benvenuto a Voci per i diritti, il posto dove ci immergiamo nel cuore pulsante dei diritti umani. Ogni episodio sarà un viaggio coinvolgente attraverso temi cruciali che plasmano il nostro mondo, dalle lotte per i diritti civili alle questioni contemporanee che richiedono la nostra attenzione. Esploreremo il vasto panorama dei diritti umani con esperti, attivisti e persone coraggiose che si battono ogni giorno per creare un mondo più giusto e inclusivo. Senza ulteriori indugi, immergiamoci nell'episodio di oggi. Grazie per essere qui con noi su Voci per i diritti, un podcast di storie umane.
Welcome to a new episode of Voci per i diritti. Today we let ourselves be guided by a work of art. Not just any piece, but a sculpture that carries centuries of history and a silent cry for freedom, Veiled Virgin, by Iranian artist Reza. With him, we will talk about art and human rights, the power of symbols and the veil, not just as a religious object, but as a metaphor of silence, censorship, and the strength of women who resist. Hi Reza, thank you for being here today. Can you tell us who you are and how your artistic journey began?
I'm Reza, a sculptor and digital artist from Iran. My background bridges classical and traditional sculpting with the digital world. I've started in entertainment industry. I started in animation and then video games, and then later on collectibles and 3D printing. But over time, I began to feel a fracture within myself. I was creating visually appealing and visually engaging works, but I wasn't really saying what I needed to say. I wasn't just missing aesthetic satisfaction. I was missing the truth, the message, and most importantly, the meaning. And that was the turning point for me. I needed to create some works that held something deeper rather than just like beautiful or nice looking works. Something that looked beyond surface form and mostly into the moral and existential concerns I carry with me. I always been drawn to how symbols and mythology lives inside our cultures, and how a block of the stone can carry more emotional and more moral weight than just anatomy. How it can carry memory and critique of our current state and power. That is the thread that I've been following throughout my works, to give form to ideas, to see mythology throughout our current from our current modern lens, and fears and struggles that I feel or that I witness in the world. So yeah.
How did you come to digital sculpture and the hybrid techniques you use today?
Digital tools gave me a sense of freedom because there is a vast space without gravity, without any limitation. So it's an experimental field where I could iterate, where I could change, deform, exaggerate, undo also, and to explore. And it lets me to pursue forms that would be very dangerous or wasteful to explore directly in a physical material, stone or whatever. But traditional sculpting taught me the opposite virtue, resistance and patience. Stone pushes back. It keeps a record of your decisions. If you break a small part or leaving chisel marks, even if you use like CNC milling or robots, you can see the trace and the pattern of patience and resistance over the stone. And that struggle is part of the meaning throughout the whole artwork. So I stopped choosing between digital and traditional. Now I usually start sculpting in digital form, where I can channel my raw energy in precision. And then I translate it into physical form, often using CNC milling as a bridge. From there, I start working on it with hand, like polishing or refining the details, carving, and adding the imperfection into the surface. To me, I think this hybrid approach mirrors my own life between the control and vulnerability, between the like ancient, if we can call it, or traditional. That would be a better, I guess, word. And then the modern or the contemporary. So yeah.
Where did the idea of reinterpreting the figure of the veiled virgin come from?
I was initially drawn to these sculptures by Raphael Monti and Giovanni Strazza. Their technical mastery and their beautiful sculptures, the way they sculpted the softness on marble and the illusion of the face beneath the veil, the fabric. But then I read more about the Vestals and their story, and the meaning shifted. It wasn't just about visually appealing artworks. The story haunted me because I don't know if you know, in ancient Rome, the Vestals were sorry, the Vestals were the priestess of Vesta, the goddess of home, family, and hearth. They guarded the sacred flame in the temple, and if the fire died out, the high priestess would accuse one of the virgins of unchastity and send one of them to the underground chamber for the rest of their life as a punishment for such an act. That felt painfully familiar, not in ritual, but in logic. I grew up in a society where a veil is often used not to protect, but to suppress, not to honor, but to control. The veil can be enforced and weaponized. It's been used to remove the women from the public life while calling the removal of virtue. And suddenly, the classical veiled virgin was no longer just an icon of modesty or beautiful artwork. She became the prisoner of that image. So my veiled virgin holds two stories at once, ancient and modern, both revealing how systems of power uses female identity and female body as a site of control. In this reinterpretation, it is the very idea of enforced purity that is suffocating her. Her modesty becomes the justification for her disappearance. The veil is no longer a delicate fabric, but a brutal constraint, if I put it this way. So yes, this is basically how it all started for me.
Yes, so the veil is not only physical but symbolic.
Yes, entirely symbolic. In the society I came from, the veil can be a tool of power and authority. It silences, excludes, erases, and it's not just about clothing. It's about visibility. So, sometimes these things are beyond the surface level. It's about who gets to exist in the public eye and who doesn't. And, in Veiled Virgin, the veil clings to her like a second skin. So it's not like a very shallow or like a very loose cloth. Uh, it's distorting her features, swallowing her breath. It covers not just her body, but her complete identity, her voice, and her will. There's a contradiction I wanted to confront. The surface of the sculpture, when I use that marble stone, the surface of the sculpture is delicate and elegant, but what it represents is very brutal. So I wanted the viewers to feel pulled between beauty and violence. That contradiction matters to me. Systems of control often wear the clothing of morality. They wear the clothing of tradition, beauty, ethics, and then they use this as a weapon to suppress whatever and whoever they want. So yeah, I wanted the viewers to feel the double moment, the double movement, basically. Attraction to the surface and then unease at the meaning. The tension between beauty and harm is the space I ask people to enter. So yeah, this is the area that I want people and viewers to basically explore.
It's often said that art doesn't speak, but makes people speak. What can art say today about human rights?
In a short sentence, we can say art doesn't provide solutions. It doesn't deliver policies or ceasefires, but it reminds us that we haven't solved everything. It refuses the amnesia. It's a mirror. It tells us who we are and it shows whom we ignore. And that is already political. Or for example, look at Gaza. We are witnessing one of the most devastating humanitarian crises of our time. Silence has been defended as neutrality, but neutrality during a moral crisis is itself, I think, a very radical position. And yet silence prevails in too many places. We read in Dante's Inferno that the darkest corners of hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in moral crisis. And that haunts me. Art's role here is not to replace action, but to keep the wound legible, to protect memory from the fog of ideology. Think of Picasso's Guernica. That painting did not stop the bombs. But it made the trauma forever and ever. So it made it alive. Or, for example, Alfredo Jar's The Sound of Silence confronts the ethic of witnessing. Or, for example, Ai Weiwei's refugee works can be great examples as well. These works do what the institutions often want. They insist on presence where policy prefers an abstraction, for example. Art can outlive the news cycle and the rhetoric of power. They preserve the human cost and it can immortalize the pain and injustice and the human cost. And that memory, that image becomes undeniable. It speaks long after the noise fades.
And what responsibility, if any, does an artist have in representing injustice, especially from their own context?
I believe the artist's first responsibility is honesty and being honest, especially when truth is dangerous. You don't have to preach or maybe turn every piece into a manifesto, but you cannot pretend not to see. Refusing to witness is a kind of collaboration. Suffering, tenderness, fear, resilience, and not just negative emotions. Any pure, raw human emotion. These are recognitions that cross borders without a passport. And art can create that dialogue and that connection between humans. I believe art is universal and not in a sense that every symbol or tradition reads the same across the cultures, but in a sense that it touches human emotions before it touches the intellect. And the medium can be whatever, sculpture, painting, or any other medium. The current underneath is human. And that is why a figure carved in stone in one language can still be understood in another language. The moral vibration arrives first, and then the others come. I believe that art doesn't need a translation when it speaks to the soul, and most importantly, when it's speaking about human conditions and humanitarian crises. It can be understood in wherever you are. You can be from China creating an artwork, and somebody else from Brazil can understand it without even knowing you or without even seeing you, just from seeing the artwork. And that is a very valuable thing that we have.
And your work seems to speak about women, but also with the women. How did you think about the relationship between the female body and constraint?
The female identity and the female body is often used as a symbol throughout the whole world for nations, religions, ideologies. Uh, but the body itself has no say in those narratives. It's spoken about and rarely spoken with. So in this sculpture, I didn't want to show a victim. I wanted to show someone struggling to reclaim her space. Her body is not objectified or eroticized, but dignified. Even in suffering, the veil tries to erase her, but she resists. Not with violence, but with presence. You can look at the hands and the pull of the drapery. The body is not slack; it resists. She's not consenting to vanish, and she's working to remain. The veil attempts to convert a person into a concept, but then she refuses just by existing. The sculpture works to recover the person. So, if there is a political claim here, it's simple. Existence is not a privilege to be granted by tradition, religion, authority, society, or anything else. It's a human right. The body is not a territory to be administered by any ideology.
Can we say that the Veiled Virgin is a figure of resistance?
Yes, though not in a way we usually imagine resistance, like staying in front of the power or whatever. She doesn't strike in that way. She stays visible in a world that would rather she vanish. Her hand grips the veil, as I mentioned, not to wrap it tighter, but to tear it away. She's caught in that moment, not yet free, but no longer passive. That in between space is where resistance lives. It's the refusal to remain silent. It's the assertion of self, even when the world is trying to unmake you. So I think that this sculpture is not about martyrdom in that sort of way. It's about survival and living with dignity, even under layers that meant to erase you.
I will ask you, what message did you hope reaches those who see Veiled Virgin for the first time? And do you think it can be a source of inspiration for those who want to engage the defense of human rights, fundamental human rights?
Well, I hope it makes people pause. As I said it in the beginning, I like to make people pause and feel uncomfortable, and honest discomfort, not because of the shock, but because it feels familiar, because we all, in different ways, have seen this throughout many different cultures. The silencing of a person in the name of purity, culture, modesty, order, or whatever. If the Veiled Virgin makes someone reflect on their role, whether as a witness, participant, or bystander, then the work has done its part. I don't believe art alone can save the world, I wish it could, but I believe it can stir something within us. It can create cracks in difference, and through those cracks, maybe a question is asked, maybe a voice escapes, and maybe changes begin.
Thank you, Reza, for your inspirational interview. It will be a pleasure for us to share it with our community. And thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So with Reza Sedgi, we discovered that even marble can speak. It can whisper freedom, shake symbols, and reveal what many prefer to hide. We invite you to discover the work Veiled Virgin in the RFK International House in Florence, and to keep asking how many voices, stories, and faces are still hidden behind imposed veils. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode of Voci per i diritti.